everybody, it's Aaron and Robert here with Get Your Geek On review of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It's a little late, but we got a late start.
Yep,
it's okay.
Alright. Episode 5, Truth.
The truth. Justice.
No, just Truth.
Oh. Just
Clearly named for the run that introduced Isaiah Bradley.
Yeah.
Which was called Truth, Red, White, and Black. And so, yeah, we're going to get into this episode. And so, spoiler alert, if you have not watched episode 5, I mean, there's a lot that happens in this episode. This is the longest episode of Marvel MCU television we've ever had.
Yes!
I mean, we're only 2 shows in. But
it's the longest
technically, this is the longest one. It was almost a full hour. I think, I don't know if the season finale is going to top it in terms of length, but I think it'll be similar. And we got our first post-credit scene of Falcon and Winter Soldier. So we're going to talk about all of it. Yeah. Again, spoiler alert. If you have not seen the episode, pause the video. Thank you for coming. Go watch the episode, and then come back and finish and watch us and enjoy. Make sure and join the conversation down below, because there's a lot in this episode.
There really is.
And we're going to talk about
I kind of want to break it down by character first.
Okay.
Since we had everybody pretty much.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Starting with Captain America himself.
Captain America, John Walker.
So
we get introduced to him kind of reliving a lot of his moments with Lamar from this season, as we're in the wake of Lamar getting killed at the end of episode 4, and him exacting vengeance on someone who was not directly responsible, but part of the group. And he's kind of, you can tell he's not necessarily at peace with the decision to kill this person, but at the end of the day, he's going to say, you know what, it was a necessary evil, it was justified. He kind of goes through this moment, and then he says, all right, time to go to work. And that's, of course, when our other folks show up. But I thought that was a really interesting way to start the episode, is, once again, we're not painting him as this, just uber villain.
No.
He's subtle, he's got more layers to him. You can tell he's in pain from the loss of his best friend. They were brothers in the military. I mean, that bond is very strong, all those things. And, maybe he overreacted in the moment, but he's not going to take responsibility for that overreaction. He's not going to be accountable for that to himself or to anyone else.
Because he was still a bad guy, so it's justified in his mind.
Yeah.
And I kind of like what they're doing with him again. Almost that Punisher style, like, the end justified the means. I'm going to put a bullet in him because, well, he's still a bad guy. And now he's like, well, I killed him. Yeah, it wasn't Lamar's murderer, but he's still a bad guy, so that's okay, right? Like, that's that gray area I can live in. Yeah. And like you said, I do like that, Falcon and Winter Soldier, hey, we gotta take you in now, give us the shield.
And I love that moment where they're, you see Sam, once again, he's empathizing with him, and he's telling him, like, it was the heat of the moment. Maybe they'll take your service record into account. Like, you can't kill a man. You can't kill a man in the middle of the street in broad daylight as people are reporting it.
Essentially.
I mean, not to get too far into it, but with all the things in the news right now, I mean, this is clearly a parallel to a murder of someone by an authority figure. Right? And we see, that this has been recorded by people. They're taking their video, and Sam is saying, maybe they'll take that into account. Maybe, but for right now, you got to give up the shield and we got to go. And I love that moment where when Sam says, give me the shield, and Walker kind of like,
it almost makes it a snap.
And he's like, oh, that's what this is about. This is you've been after this shield since the moment I got it. Like, you can see the wheels turning in his head. He's like, oh, you just want the shield back, and this is your excuse. Which is not true.
No.
Like, that is clearly not what Sam is after. Now, we know that Bucky does not want John to have the shield.
No.
Sam doesn't really either. Right. But Sam has not been trying to get the shield back this whole time.
Not like Bucky wants it.
And yeah, I think Bucky wants it because he doesn't think John should have it, for sure. But, they haven't tried to take it from him before. And obviously this is the moment where you can see how much it hurt both Sam and Bucky to see the shield used in that way.
Oh, yeah, it really did. And I did like that. I kind of like what happens to John at this point. He's kind of snapped. Yeah. That Lamar was kind of like, to me, that last string he had.
He was a lifeline.
And we cut that. Like, that's gone. And now, like you said, it's the whole... At first I thought maybe he was listening to Sam, and maybe he's right, until he said give up the shield. Then it was like...
And then he goes, oh, you almost had me.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, he snapped. Like, that was... I knew it. And then they fight. Which was an amazing fight scene.
Awesome fight.
Called back to almost like Iron Man and Bucky fighting.
Very similar to Civil War.
Yeah.
We again had a 3-person fight. Again, 2 super soldiers and 1 person in a tech suit, right?
Yeah.
And we see, just like in that one, the tech suit gets disabled, right? We see
half.
Those Falcon wings just get torn right off.
You called that. You said it was going to happen. That they were going to slowly tear that whole thing apart.
I mean,
and they did. They did.
But yeah, we see this back and forth, and eventually, Sam and Bucky gain the upper hand. Whether they break his arm, dislocate it, whatever it is, they do something very, very serious to that arm to get that shield off. And then they kind of have one final knockout moment. The shield ends up by Bucky, and I love that he picks it up and he kind of, without saying a single word, says, "I told you so."
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Clearly drops it at Sam's head and says, like, without saying anything, says, "You shouldn't have given up the shield." And almost blaming Sam for what's happened. Yeah. Almost blaming Sam for John in this moment. And we see later on in the episode the growth that's happened, and I love that, and we'll get to it.
We'll get to it. Yeah, I want to finish up John.
But I love this scene. I think it ends really great, and you see Sam, just trying to wipe the blood off the shield. That's his first instinct. Is to cleanse this shield that, this was his best friend. This was his legacy.
It was.
And to see it tarnished in that way, it's eating him up inside, just like it's eating up Bucky.
It is.
And the next thing we see is John back, basically at a congressional hearing, getting stripped of the title of Captain America, an other than honorable discharge from the military, no benefits, no rank in retirement, and basically just having his life stripped away. And again, this was, and we try not to get too political on this show,
right.
but it's really, this show is political.
Yeah, this one is.
It just is.
Yeah.
And this was very similar to what happened in the trial, regarding the killing of George Floyd, where, he got thrown under the bus. And that happened with that police officer as well, is that all of those other officers were like, nope, that's not what we do. Just completely threw him under the bus. As they should have. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah.
But, clearly these politicians, as our cameo says, have, stuff to protect. And so they are more than willing to just shove John Walker under the bus. And you can see he's like, this is your fault. You built me. You told me to do this.
And I love how they don't want to hear it. It's like, take your punishment and leave.
And there's shades of gray there. Because on the one hand, he's right. They did empower him. They made him Captain America. They said, be our shield, be the person in the world. On the other hand, they didn't tell him to go rogue, which he did.
Yep.
They didn't tell him to take the super soldier serum, which he did. So there's gray on this.
Yeah.
Like John Walker is not like a doe-eyed innocent.
Yeah. He's not completely. His hands aren't clean.
Right, but he's also right in that they loaded the gun and pointed him, and he went off. Exactly. But it's partially their fault for putting the bullet in the chamber.
And I think this is where we see that. How much the mantle was weighing on his shoulders, though, I think. He really was like, I don't want to say that he couldn't live up to the expectation, but I don't think he thought he could do it. He thought maybe at first, I can, and then when he realized the weight that this brings with it.
Well, and certainly when he came up against super soldiers, this is a trial by fire for him, and he felt like he failed until he took the serum. He wasn't able to be Captain America until he took the serum. And
I think this comes back to the Captain America, the First Avenger, where all these soldiers who, what was his name's character, the Sergeant Tommy
Lee Jones, yeah.
Where his guys like, well, about all these guys, they're all buff and they pass it. Well, yeah, they pass all the basic stuff, but then like you said before in the other video, they don't have the heart behind it. They don't have the mentality, which is what Steve always had behind him.
Right.
So I don't know. I liked where they went with it, and then after the whole thing, he leaves the hearing. He's gone.
And they tell him to bring back the shield, so they clearly don't know that Sam has it.
Yeah, they don't know that's gone.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And we get a couple of different things. We get, I don't know if I want to go with the person, or should we go with that he talks to the family?
No, I think we gotta go in
next?
sequence. So Contessa Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, I believe, Julia Louis-Dreyfus. So she's got a lot of names.
I was like,
in real life too.
Go with that too.
Of course, of Seinfeld and Veep fame, showing up as in the comics, this character was a former S.H.I.E.L.D. agent who was kind of Nick Fury's right hand. At times, they even dated. Then she was a sleeper agent for Russia. In this one, she seems to be putting together a team, perhaps, of
Thunderbolts?
And maybe the Thunderbolts, but certainly of unsavory characters, if you will. She has a quick conversation. I will say, I am excited for her in making her debut in the MCU. She was, the reports are that she was supposed to show up first in Black Widow. Of course, that got delayed. We don't know if she's still going to be in that movie, as that's coming out later this summer. I did not love the introduction. The first moment where she walked up and made these boots are not made for walking. I was like, nobody starts a conversation.
No.
That's really, it was like somebody in the writer's room was like, okay, we're going to have a shot of the boots so you can't see who it is. And then we'll have a line be about the boots. And I was like, that was dumb. You shouldn't have done that. The rest of the scene, I liked. Yeah. I liked the way that she kind of just immediately blocked out John Walker's wife.
Oh, yeah. The one moral compass he has.
And just kind of ignored her while throwing her a bone, you married this firecracker over here. That was really great. So I loved all of that. Once we got past the initial joke, I really liked this.
It sold for me, too, because I feel like, first of all, the card was just to keep her distracted for a minute, too. Here's a blank card. A blank business card. I don't care. Whatever.
Yeah.
Go away.
Answer my phone call.
Yeah. She almost you're beneath me. Go away.
Yeah.
But at the same time, literally putting her a wall between her and him, because now the moral compass right now is his wife.
Yep.
But if I block that, physically blocked it, and then focus on, I'm right here.
And it's blacked out from the camera too. It is very purposeful. We see as an audience, we see her block out his wife, and we can no longer see his wife except at brief moments where she tries to come in, and you get here's the card to keep you distracted.
Yeah, and by the way, firecracker.
And once again, she's blocked out. Yeah, it was very deliberate.
And I love that because again, we're trying to keep John away from all the morals now. Lamar's dead.
Yeah.
Wife is no. She's the beautiful one. Don't listen to her. She's not.
And I love what she's saying. She says, "I know you took the super soldier serum. Good choice." She says, "You should have killed."
Backing up everything.
If you had killed them all, we'd have been on board with that. That they have to protect PR. They're PR people, but really they approve of what you did. So she
was everything he wanted to hear.
Absolutely. And then she wraps it up by saying make sure that you answer my phone call, and don't worry about the shield. That's a legal gray area, and I know you don't have it.
Exactly. And I want to know where she's getting all her information from.
She knows a lot.
She knows everything. Yep. So I'm like, how did you...
my question is not how does she know it. My question is, how does no one else know it? How do all the rest of the senators not know that he doesn't have the shield?
Unless they're trying to hide that they do know he doesn't, but for the public, they need to make them think it.
I don't know.
Because you don't want the public to know the shield is gone and missing. But I don't know. I did like her character though.
Yeah.
I did like I said, besides that little misstep in the front, I think it was perfect. I think it was laid out. She did what she was supposed to do, and I did like the line that this is the second best thing you've ever done. The first is going to be answering my phone call. I was
tied with
answering my phone call.
No,
I was
tied with the marrying this firecracker.
Oh yeah,
that's where she throws.
Oh, that was number 2. Okay.
Yeah. Well, no, number 2 was taking the super soldier serum, and then she said the first one is tied with, and she that's right. So she again throws the bone over to John Walker's.
That's right. Yeah. But I'm excited to see where she's going to come from and what she's going to do.
Yeah.
How they're going to tie this to Black Widow, if she's even still in it, or they edited it out now, because this will be her debut.
I hope that she's still in it, and I hope it's she's recruiting Taskmaster. I hope that, so too. I hope that Taskmaster gets more than just the Black Widow movie.
I really hope so, and because I love that character.
He's a great villain.
He is.
And so versatile by nature of how he interacts.
Exactly.
So, all right.
So
next thing we see with John is he goes to see Lamar's family. And just like he lies to the senators, and now he lies to them about yes, he was directly responsible, and you could see as he's saying it to them, he's like, I would never let the person who did this get away. Like, he's
telling himself
he's not done with Carly.
No,
like
he's gonna kill her.
He wants to go kill her. And you know, I did love the family. You've got, you know, mom and dad, and I think most likely sister. That's the read I was getting on it. Like I didn't get that like that was his Lamar's wife or anything like that. Like I got like this is sister. Yeah. And she, by the way, does not believe a single word John Walker is saying.
She like don't believe that white man.
You can tell. And I think dad is a little bit on the fence as well. Mom is, you know, the grieving mom, and she's, you know,
here's the picture of you and Lamar from the wars.
He was so proud of you. He was so like she's and you know. I think, you know, she even says, like, it was his greatest honor to serve with you. And John says, you know, it was my honor, too. But the genuineness is gone from him.
It's gone.
Like
he's like he's dead inside.
He is. It feels like he's dead inside. And I wonder if, you know, he will get that back once he exacts some revenge, if he does.
If he does, yeah.
Because in the comics, U.S. Agent isn't a straight-up villain.
No.
He's more like an anti-hero who is frequently at odds with our heroes, but he's not necessarily just straight-up a villain. It'll be interesting to see how they play him in the MCU.
What I would love to see one day, if they all ever do it, since we know Punisher's eventually going to come out, him and Punisher either teaming up or fighting each other. Because imagine them two teaming up, they kill a whole room. They just like, all right, man, let's just go and just everybody be dead.
I don't feel like Punisher would team up with U.S. Agent.
He might. In gray areas. I mean, he's black and white, and he's gonna ask him, "Did you kill him? Did he do it? Yeah, he did. Okay, cool. He's a bad guy." Because remember, Punisher's black and white.
Well, but I guess my point is maybe not that they wouldn't initially work together, but I think after like one mission, you know, John Walker would do something that Frank would be like,
oh yeah,
I can't work with you anymore, and he might try and kill him then.
Oh yeah, I see Punisher doing that too. Like, you did what? You killed a little girl. Oh, you killed who? Yeah. I gotta kill you now. Now you're a villain too. Yeah. Because he is so black and white. But I would love to see them either go at it or like team up. Yeah. Like that'd be a good fight, I think, with them too. Yeah. But then we get the end credit scene I want to mention because he is in the end credit.
That is him.
And he's building a shield.
He's making a shield, and he's using his Medal of Honor to put on that shield.
That was a nice little touch, I think, for him.
I can't wait for him to throw this shield that he has just made out of regular metal and it not bounce around everywhere. It's just gonna like hit things and fall. And he's gonna be like, "Aww." Like, bro, it's not vibranium.
Vibranium breaks the laws of physics. And even Spider-Man says that shield doesn't obey the laws of physics.
Yeah, no, but this one...
This one's going to.
This one is just a straight up... Like,
I would love to see that, too.
I don't know what he's making this out of. I wonder... I don't think he'll throw it. I think it'll just be a bludgeoning instrument.
Oh, yeah. Because he knows he can't.
Yeah, this is not a bounce-around shield. And if it is, if they use it that way, I'm going to call...
Yeah, I'm going to say that, too, because that's like, no.
It's like, you can't do that. Only Captain America shield.
Like, where did you get the vibranium to build this now? Mixed with adamantium or something else? Because depending what you rate on it.
Sure.
So, that was his story, so wrapping him up. So, I mean, we can go with... I just want Zemo's real quick, because he was just in one little scene.
Yep. Zemo goes to the monument. Yep. In Sokovia. And he has a little confrontation with Bucky.
And he's taken away
and then the Dormilaje take him and... very, very planty for the next thing.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to take him to the raft. Which it's like, why would the Dormilaje take him to the raft? Like, okay, here's my questions. And again, this comes back to my issues with the prison break. Why wasn't he in the raft to begin with?
Yep.
And so now why would the Dormilaje take him back, like take him to the raft? Why wouldn't they either take him back to whatever prison he was in before, or take him to Wakanda? It's clearly they're going, we're going to take you back to the raft so that General Ross can do the Thunderbolts.
Yeah, or something. Like, yeah, that's a good
point.
Like,
literally, it's once again, and
it's bad.
As much as I have loved Zemo in this series, like, he put on the mask because he wears a mask in the comics. And he's being taken to the raft so that he can be part of the villain team-up team. Exactly. Like, it's like these are all just totally just... They're BS plot points.
They really are.
And they're ham-fisted, and it's okay.
It's okay.
Like, I'm not worried about, like, it was cool to see him put on the mask. And,
exactly.
And I want to see the Thunderbolts, and I want Zemo to be part of it. So, even though this is a really dumb way to get there, Fine.
We're going to take you to the raft. You realize Wakanda has a better prison to keep him in. No. The raft.
Right.
But you could take... I was there on Wakanda. No, Bucky. Shut up. We're taking him to the raft.
Yeah.
Okay. And he's like, I don't know either. I thought they were going to take me to Wakanda.
Yeah.
Like...
I do love the Dora Milaje. I love Ao gets another final interaction with Bucky, and they have their little conversation.
Their conversation, and she gets one more favor.
Yeah, she's like, "Don't come back to Wakanda for right now. You know, you're probably they're not gonna be too excited to see the guy that broke Zemo out of prison." And he's like, "Hey, one more favor."
Yeah, one more favor. I thought that was kind of stupid too. It's like she's already said we don't like you right now, but I'll do you a solid. Don't worry.
Yeah.
And I did like that we did see some growth from Bucky. How he could have killed Zemo. But he didn't. He chose finally to let the Winter Soldier go. Finally.
Yeah, and I love Zemo's line. He's like, "I took the liberty of crossing my name off your book." It's
my God!
Yes. It's like, wait, you don't get to do that. It's the same. It's the same thing on the plane scene where he's like, the trouble man is like encapsulates the African American experience. It's like you're not allowed to. You're right, but you're not allowed to do that.
I want to be like, how did you get the book again though? Like
because he's Zemo. Don't worry.
It's like,
about it.
Behind your ear. Pulls the book out. Here you go, Bucky.
Maybe
I want to see him do stupid shit
Maybe
like
he
that
crossed it
now.
off earlier, right? This is like the Team Thor around the Civil War. Those videos with him and his roommate Daryl. Like, I want to see Zemo doing like sleight of hand.
Right? Like, why?
Yeah.
Because I'm Zemo. Yes.
Zemo.
I got this one stupid little videos like this now with him. Like, that's all I want.
He's doing his dance.
His little dance. Oh my god, the dance cut.
Good stuff.
So, like, Zemo's out, and this is one thing I will say. I thought we weren't going to get all of them out till the next episode, but we got Zemo off the table for now.
It appears that way.
Walker's off the table for now. He probably will come back at the last scene.
He's definitely coming. Like, he's going to New York to kill Carly. He's going to be part of the final confrontation.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
And I'm just, like I said before, I think Carly is going to try to, Sam's going to have that conversation, but you got John wanting to kill her, you got senators wanting to kill her, you got everybody wanting to kill her.
Yeah,
she's a dead man walking.
I don't know. We're gonna see what happens. So do we want to go Flag Smashers next?
Yeah, let's go Flag Smashers next. Yeah, let's go.
I think we have to dovetail this with Sharon. We have to talk about Sharon Carter, who is having conversation with Batroc the Leaper. It's not a question. It's not a question. I watch it with subtitles.
After watching
it literally says in subtitles. It literally says Batroc speaks, French.
I didn't see that
or whatever
because I don't have subtitles on.
So she is definitely talking to Batroc, which I think is a total swerve.
I think so.
I think she is. We saw throughout this series planted seeds that like she was able to find the scientist that did the super soldier serum really fast. Right. She was she did not look happy when she walked in and found Zemo had killed him. Yeah. Right? So like that was another thing. Like there's some connection here, whether maybe she helped the Flag Smashers steal the serum to begin with. She's got some sort of connection with Carly. But I think it's all a undercover. I think she is working for the good guys in some capacity. Like
a triple agent kind of thing almost?
Something like that.
Okay.
And I think that my fears of us not finding out who the real power broker is, this is where we're at. Okay, this is my theory. Is that I think the power broker was blipped away. Okay. And Sharon stepped in and pretended to be the power broker during those 5 years. And then when whoever that power broker came back, they're trying to reclaim, and there's a little bit of a power struggle going on. Okay. And so I think she took over that position with intention of, trying to take down the criminal underworld. Mm-hmm. And now, the unblipping or whatever you want to call it has really thrown her plans into chaos. Yeah. And so she's trying to, still bring down this criminal empire from within, working with Carly and all those. That's what I think.
Okay. So
the reason I don't think she's the actual power broker is because we saw earlier in the episode when Carly, like these messages that Carly's been getting from the power broker, and we saw one of her people get killed as they were escaping.
Oh yeah.
And we've seen like how scared she is of the power broker. Well, if Sharon was the actual power broker, then how is she able to just connect Batroc with them this episode?
That is true. Okay.
So that's where
you've eliminated her.
I'm going. She can't be the actual person that is the power broker.
So who do you think? Do you think Who do you think the power broker is going to be? Because I have one guess of who I want it to be.
I think it's no one we've met in the series.
I disagree. Well, I'll disagree. I think it's someone we have met, just not in the series.
Okay.
I'm going to put my money, Vincent D'Onofrio, the Kingpin.
Wow.
I'm going to put some money on that. Because he's still out there.
Wow.
It's all connected right now.
No, it's not all connected right now.
This would connect it.
This would.
He could be out there. He does have a lot of pull in Magic Pool.
I am going to go ahead and say I feel like that is way off the table.
Look, you took my Dr. Doom off the table. I'm going to move now to Vincent D'Onofrio.
I love Vincent D'Onofrio's version of Kingpin.
Oh, yes.
But I also don't think that they would... I think that the power broker is going to be its own thing. Like, we keep talking about, is this General Ross? Is this Kingpin? Is this... Like, the power broker is its own character in the comics, and I don't think they're going to merge those.
But if we see somebody put a phone down in a cell, it's Kingpin.
All right.
Right now.
So, anywho, I think at this point, the only way we'll meet the power broker in this series is if it's a post-credit scene.
And I don't think we're going to
And I don't think so either.
No. I really think, to be honest,
unless it's setting up a season 2. All right.
So the Flag Smashers are on the run still.
Yep. So we get a few scenes with Carly, and she, Zemo says it, that she's radicalized beyond, and you can see that something in her has snapped, and she really is not feeling remorse over whatever happened with Lamar. She's ready. They're doing this emergency. They're doing raids. They're trying to find her. Yes. They're gonna do this emergency. Vote on whatever this act is that they're trying to just bring order back to the world. And she's saying, we are gonna resort to whatever means necessary to stop this. And if that means killing people, then that means killing people.
Exactly. I feel like she's on the opposite side of the same coin as John right now.
Yeah.
They both have snapped. They both are now hit their lows of their morals. Yeah. And they're both ready to do whatever it takes.
I think this is the weakest storyline for me and the weakest characters. I liked what they were... It seemed like earlier in this season, they were really setting them up to be kind of sympathetic villains. Yeah. But I really feel like they've deviated from that. And I don't have that sympathy anymore that I did. And I don't like that they've done that, where they really have kind of turned her completely evil.
Yeah, but she's still not.
And I don't know. The portrayal of her, and even when Batroc comes up and he's like, "Oh, we're working with criminals now," and she's like, "Haven't you heard? We are criminals." And I'm like, I liked what they were setting up, and I feel like they have lost their way with it. It hasn't been consistent. Mm-hmm. And I know that there's been speculation that this storyline got changed quite a bit because of COVID. Mm-hmm. That originally they were supposed to, I think, release a virus, and then they were like, let's change that. So it feels like this storyline just hasn't been developed as much as it should have been.
And I can see that.
And I think that there's some issues with it that I haven't... I was liking her character a lot early in the season.
Right, remember that.
And now at this point, I feel like... Not that because she's evil I don't like her, because she's a bad guy I don't like her, that's not what I'm saying. I feel like the character isn't as three-dimensional.
She's becoming very generic.
As I was hoping she would be.
Yeah. She's becoming a generic villain almost, for me at least. I just need to do this because, that's the only way I know.
Yeah.
But it's like you had Sam talk to you, and Sam, to me, I felt like in that conversation he was almost getting to her.
Yeah.
And yes, John screwed it up. Yes, this happened with that and all that. But at some point, that conversation, I would think would still reside in you. Something would still be there.
And I agree with you. And I think they're going to try and do that in this next episode.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's my point, is that there should be seeds for that in here.
Not.
We're not seeing any doubt in her.
No.
And that's where you would need to see that she... Even if she's still taking these actions, even if she's still pushing the story in this way, we should be seeing that she's not 100% sure about it anymore. She's having doubts, and instead we're not seeing that.
Right, and we're not at all. And I think that's what's going to make this... That's really what's going to hurt this.
Yeah.
Is that we're not getting any extra lineage to it, I guess, or something to like connect it. And I think that's what makes me feel that she is going to die at the end of this 6th episode.
Yeah,
because it's like we don't want her
100% certain that she's going to die. Last episode, when we talked, I said, I think she's going to have like a noble sacrifice. I'm less sure of that now because in this episode they're not setting her up for the noble sacrifice. I felt like they were in the last one with her conversation with Sam.
Yeah.
I felt like that was going to resonate with her, and it's going to cause her to have this kind of change of heart where she is going to have a noble sacrifice, and then they didn't build on that at all in this episode, and that's my chief complaint.
Yeah, and I agree, and I feel like now what's going to happen is she's going to get shot, something's going to happen, she's dead like that almost, and we're going to get more of a fight between John and Sam as who should be the Captain America.
Yeah.
He's going to throw his shield, it's not going to bounce. Sam throws his shield, it bounces all around, and it's going to be like, well,
I don't think she's going to die quickly, but I don't
feel her fighting.
And I think that John is going to be the one that kills her.
For sure John's going to kill her, I think. I think they've already set up that John is going to kill her. Yeah. Like, we have everyone else looking for it, but I think John's going to be the one that's going to pull the trigger, either bash her head in or shoot her with a gun or whatever it is, because he's still a soldier, so he still knows how to shoot.
Yep.
So I think he's going to take her out, and I really think our final climax is going to be now Sam, Captain America, versus essentially a U.S. agent now at this point, because he can't use the name anymore. He can't do any of that. I feel like he is going to take that title of U.S. agent. Like, well, fine, and I'm an agent for the U.S. He's going to say it with something corny, I'm sure, and that's going to be his name. But moving on from that, from the Flag Smashers, I mean, we can move straight into Falcon and Bucky. So
I think we got to focus on Sam first.
Yes.
Because his storyline, this is his episode, really.
This really was. It was such a good episode for him.
And Bucky gets sprinkled into his story a few times.
Bucky hitting on his sister.
The only scene that he has by himself, Bucky, that is the one with Zemo, which we already covered. So I think we got to talk about Sam. Obviously, we talked about the fight scene. We talk about the legacy of the Shield. And him trying to wipe the blood off, and then he goes to see Isaiah Bradley.
Right.
And this scene,
that whole scene,
this scene is the scene of the series to me so far.
Now,
it was incredible.
I mean, again, obviously, we come from different backgrounds.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say it that way. Did it hit? Do you think it hit as hard for you as it would for someone like me or anyone else?
I mean, I thought this.
I'm gonna go political real quick. I'm gonna comment. This is gonna be very political.
Yeah, I mean,
this whole scene was political.
I felt like this scene was incredibly powerful. I actually was talking with a buddy of mine who's black, and I was seeing things in it that he wasn't seeing necessarily. I was like, just really that it was really driving home a lot of things and very generational things within the African American experience. Yeah, I mean, you have Isaiah just literally saying, "If you ain't bitter, you're blind."
Right.
And he's speaking from his personal experience, but he's also speaking for that generation. And you can see whether it be World War I, when that was the first time that African Americans were really fighting in military, and they were in Europe, and they weren't Nazis at that point, but we were fighting the Germans,
right? And
they were dropping propaganda that was leaflets to these African American soldiers saying, "Why are you fighting with these people who oppress you? Why are you?" And so this is something that's been going on forever. We get, talk of the experiments and how they said, they told us it was tetanus. This is based in reality. I mean, this is stuff that
I think he
actually was done.
The Tuskegee Airmen, too, doesn't he?
Yep.
If I'm not mistaken, I have to remember the whole speech in my head.
Yeah, and talking about how they came back from fighting to find crosses on their lawn. And you have Sam being like, "I'm from Louisiana. I'm from the South. I get it. I understand."
But I think Isaiah was just like, "No, you don't."
Right.
I was through the worst.
I lived it.
Yeah, what we went through is what helped pave the way for you to not see as much as I've seen.
And his story in this show of him and several other soldiers, black soldiers, were experimented on, and They all got different versions of the serum, as he said, and the other people weren't stable. Like he was the only one that was stable with it. Some of them got captured. They were going to blow up the prisoner of war camp to hide the evidence, basically. And he went and saved his brothers behind enemy lines.
That's a Steve moment too.
And exactly,
it went straight to that.
It's a 100% parallel because Steve did that in the first Avenger, and he came back after disobeying orders. He was not supposed to do that.
Yep.
And he went and saved his buddies and came back, and he got a round of applause.
Yep, and got promoted, and here's everything.
What did Isaiah get?
He was killed still.
I don't think they were all killed. I think what he was saying is they all died still because of the effects of the serum.
Oh, okay.
And then
I thought that he meant like
he was the only one that survived, and he got thrown in prison and experimented on because they went, "Why did it work with you?
Yeah,
we need to find out." And so he spent 30 years in prison being experimented on and being, just like tortured. And basically there was no gratitude for him saving everyone's life. They locked him in a prison, threw away the key.
Yeah.
And it was only because of, as he says, a nurse that took pity on him and, had him declared dead, and basically, when he was able to get out of prison.
Exactly. And I love how, he's going through all this, and man, like, I felt bad for that character. Like,
my God.
I literally stopped whatever I was doing. I don't want to tell much because it's going to other channel stuff that I do. And I was just like, holy crap. And it resonated with me because I'm like, everything he's saying is true.
Yep.
Growing up, we learn I hate saying it this way, the whitewash version of history. I didn't learn more about my Native American side and all that till afterwards, and what really happened to a lot of my culture.
Yep.
Until, God, in the last 10 years, actually. And I'm looking at him, and I'm like, this is all true. And I like how he said, because I didn't know how I felt on the last part, where he tells Sam, I don't want that shield, and no self-respecting black man will ever want that. I was a little torn on that part. Well, because I get what he's saying 100%, but I'm like, he's right. America's not ready for a black Captain America. We're not. Even in the comics, we're still not. I feel like even in the comics I can't go with the figures, but I don't think they sold as well. I mean, we had Bucky have it for a little bit. They killed him off because they weren't doing well. So then Sam picked it up for a while, and now I think it's back to Cap. It's back to somebody else. It doesn't ever stay with anyone else besides Steve for too long, because nobody wants it to be anyone else but Steve.
Sure.
But is it because, we're talking about African Americans, we're talking about Russians, we're talking about everything else? Or
I think...
Blonde, like he says, it always has to be a blonde-haired, blue-eyed guy, and I was like, that's true.
And the thing is that, I think that there's elements to it. I think there's people that would say, well, it's the legacy character and it should be Steve, and then, there's other people that, it is for them a race thing, whether they would admit it or not. And certainly, as you're getting in this episode, you're having Isaiah basically saying, like, you... And I love his line. He says, you want me to be responsible for being in prison because you've got that white man's shield. Mm-hmm. It's like, you want it to be because I did something wrong. But it wasn't. Right. I didn't do anything
He did the
wrong.
right thing.
They threw me away because of who I am, because of the color of my skin. They didn't care about me.
Exactly.
That's what he's saying. And so he's speaking from that experience and saying, if this is the country that you grew up in, and we talk about not knowing the history, right, and it's whitewashed history, but even though that's the case, and even though we don't learn the same history, black people, they learn their experiences. Mm-hmm. You learned your experiences from just the color of your skin. I'm sure you had very different experiences than I did growing up. And so even though you may not have known all the specifics, there's a trauma that exists just because of, the color of your skin. Yeah. And so he's saying, like, you didn't need to know my history to have lived as a black man in America. And if you lived as a black man in America, you shouldn't want to carry the stars and the stripes. Exactly. You should look at that and be disgusted by it.
And I love that that's what he goes with, because it's two sides now. We have Isaiah, who's, I don't want to say bitter, but he is bitter.
Oh, no, he's 100% bitter. And he says it. He says, if you get bitter, you're blind.
Yeah.
Like, he literally says it.
I just don't want to see him as bitter, because, I get where he's come from. And I'm like, dude, I 100% understand you.
And that's the thing, is that he is bitter, but he's justifiably bitter.
Exactly.
It's 100%, like, we understand why he's bitter, and...
That's why I don't want to call him bitter, because I'm like, dude, I would be the same way.
Well, and that's the thing, is that, again, it's justifiably bitter, and, if you're able to, rise above that, I mean, amazing. But you can't hold someone to that standard and say, well, you should be able to just forgive and forget. Yeah. Are you kidding?
No, after 30 years of imprisonment,
that's not how it works.
Yeah. And see, and that's why I do like it, though. We have his viewpoint of what the shield means to him.
Yep.
And then everybody knows what the shield means to Sam already. We know what it means to him, and now we have
different things to different people, man.
Exactly, and I love that we're getting that. Like, now it's not so much about good and evil, though. Like, oh, it's Captain America. He stands for America. We need to hate him because we're Russia or we're whatever the Nazis at the World War II. This is literally two Americans who see the shield completely different. It's not two different cultures. Nothing. It's two black. Two black men
and lived it. Sam, knew the man.
Yeah.
Like he
knows Steve,
and so that shield to him, represents Steve, and there's a deeper meaning there than just the serum, which is what Isaiah sees it as a symbol of the government that experimented on him without his consent. That then after the experiment worked. Then continued experimenting on him to find out why it worked. And, all of his brothers, they had no regard for them. They would have killed them just to hide evidence. They didn't, but they died anyways because of the serum that they had experimented with, so they still did kill them.
And we don't know if some of them were shot. We don't know if they just flat out killed them.
And at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. No. The government killed them, whether it was with the serum or
bullet or whatever.
Yeah. And so, he's speaking from all of that experience, 100%. He talks about, the wife that he lost, all of those things. Man, that hurt. I was absolutely. Like, oh, that's a good point. And you see this has a major effect on Sam. And so he picks up the phone, he calls his sister, says, I'm coming home. Right?
And he takes the shield with him, because Isaiah did not want that thing in his house.
Hell no.
So he walks out with the shield, we see him to go back to the sister. He comes back over there and decides to work on the boat, essentially. He wants to help sell it and fix it up or whatever.
And again, this is a character trait of Sam. He is, he's a team builder.
Exactly.
Right? And so we get this montage of him like, hey, remember that time my parents helped you out? We need help now. And the whole town is going to pitch in and help. And who else shows up?
Bucky
Barnes.
Because he wants to hit on the sister. Let's face it, that's all he went there for.
I
love those little lines.
And again, I love it because we're seeing a little bit. You can tell that Bucky is starting to heal. This is a little bit of the same Bucky we saw in early Captain America in that first movie before him and Steve, before Steve got the serum and stuff, before all that happened, when they're at World's Fair, and he's got, the two girls, he's a ladies' man,
He is.
And so I love that he's just, it's just a smile, it's just a, in exchange, hey, I'm James,
how you doing?
And she's like, oh, Sarah, and you can see there's
Sam's like,
Sam's like, what?
Shoot.
And I'll be honest, I want it to happen.
Yeah,
because I love Bucky, I love Sarah, I love their interactions. I'm like, I want them to get together. Also, because it would totally annoy Sam.
Oh, I just want it for the annoying Sam purpose. I don't care about anything else. I just want to annoy Sam more.
But I love that. I love that he shows up. We get a great little joke of the steam hissing out, and Bucky goes over and fixes it, and Sam's like, "Why don't you use your metal arm?" I don't always think of it. I'm right-handed. It was a great little joke. I love it. And the other thing, too, is you have to remember, he was brainwashed for a lot of the time that, he's had this metal arm.
Yeah, and so it's still true.
Yeah, it's like, I didn't always think of it.
I did love the first, interaction of seeing him was how are we going to get this engine off the truck?
Yeah.
All right, here you go.
And he says he's there to deliver a package from the Wakandans. Mm-hmm. So we know that's the favor that was called in. We don't see what's in it either at this point or later in the episode. Suit, right? But we know exactly what it is. It's obviously a new suit.
It's the Captain America Falcon suit.
Correct.
Hybrid.
With it looks like probably some vibranium wings. Probably.
Or maybe it's the Wolverine suit that we saw in Wolverine that just never went anywhere else.
I do have a question, though. Did they build in a failsafe into Sam's suits like they did with Bucky's arm?
Oh, that would suck. That would so suck.
It's all of a sudden Falcon's flying through the air and it's just the wings just drop off. Come on. All right. So then we get this montage, them helping to fix up the boat.
Yeah. all these people come out of nowhere.
And you know, him and Bucky are working on it. You get another great interaction with Sarah being like, I told you not to work on this. Like this isn't the problem. And you have again Bucky, you know, doing a little bit of flirting. He's like, and I think he even says Samuel. Like at one point, like he says like not just Sam. He's like Samuel. You know, like
it's like what?
Like, it's great. It's really great. Just kind of like, you know, where he's like subtly just being like, it's his fault, you know, I didn't want to go along with it, you know?
I did like the one other joke, kind of tying to the right hand joke, where he was like, I'm right-handed. How, you know, see Sam try to lift, like, the railing.
Oh, yeah.
And he just comes with the left hand and just like,
rips it
off. I'm just fucking with you the whole time. I'm like, oh my god, really? Language, dang it. I do that.
But yeah, and then it bleeds into them kind of having a heart-to-heart while throwing the shield.
That was such a nice conversation.
And they're doing it, you know, like, you could tell they're not throwing it at full strength.
No.
Right? Because we see later in the episode when Falcon is training with it, you know, at full strength. That's a little bit different. So they're kind of having a heart-to-heart with the shield. You get Bucky talking about how he and Steve, we get confirmation that he knew Steve's plan in Endgame, that he was going to go back.
Which we all kind of assumed, but I love how
it is very, like, it's nodded to in the movie, but, you know, like, we get confirmation. He said, Steve told me what he was planning. You know, but we didn't consider what it meant for a black man to be handed that shield. And I love that we've gotten to this point in the series and that growth with Bucky, who is, let's be honest, a product of the 1940s, right? So a different type of mindset. And you can see that, you know, he and Steve didn't live through the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s, you know, like, so all of those things, they're learning about it as they, you know, come to reality.
Exactly.
And, you know, so that loss of life experience of the growth that our country has gone through, which it has not gone far enough, but it has, you know, like the civil rights movement is in the 60s.
And they would have never known.
They weren't there for that, right? So maybe they have a knowledge of it.
He might have shot somebody.
That's true. He might be responsible for JFK. We don't know.
In
this universe, we don't know.
We don't know.
But anyways, you know, I love that we get the acknowledgement of, you know, we didn't think about it. That's on us. Like, that's, you know, and I didn't appreciate how difficult that was for you. And here's why it was difficult for me.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the shield it's the last thing linking me to anything. Like, he says that it's like my family.
Yeah.
You know, because Steve's gone, and we don't know if he's dead.
They haven't clarified.
They haven't clarified it, but they keep saying he's gone. So wherever he is, whether he's dead or not, he's unavailable to Sam.
He doesn't want to talk to anybody, obviously.
And so at this point, you know, we've got Bucky saying, you know, this, I don't have anything else. Like, I'm a man out of time. All of my family, everybody's dead. Steve's gone. He was the only person I knew. And so, yeah, the only thing that's left is that shield. And it hurt me that you threw it away, because that's how he sees it. And it's like he's finally at that point where he understands a little bit, not fully, but he's understanding at least why Sam would take that action. And I love that, you know, Sam talks to him about, you know, what you need to do. Like, if you want to get out of the hole, you got to do the work. You know, and he's like talking about his nightmares. He's talking about all that stuff. And I love what he says when Bucky's like, I've been making amends. He's like, you haven't been making amends. You've been avenging. Like, you've been stopping all the people you enabled as the Winter Soldier. Yeah. But you haven't been going back and making people whole that you harmed. And there's a difference there. And it's, again, bringing back what we know has to come back from the first episode with the gentleman whose son was killed.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, and you can see, and there's just a subtle piece of, like, this is really important when you're trying to repair a relationship, or when you've harmed someone. In order to truly heal, you have to make that person whole. You have to, you know, go back to them, and you have to apologize. You have to, you know, go above and beyond. You have to do all those things, and you have to try to repair the harm. You can't always repair the harm. You can't bring this person back from the dead. Yeah. But you can't even start the process until you're honest about it. And I just love, and he talks about, like, there's dozens of people, and Sam says, start with one.
And I think, like you said, it's going to come back to episode 1. I'm sure, like, the last scene in the next episode is going to be, or one of the last scenes.
Bucky's last scene.
Yeah, Bucky's last scene.
Yeah. Will
be him saying, hey, I need to tell you what happened to your son. And we may not get the full conversation, but I think we're going to see him go and sit there and talk to him.
Yeah, I think you're right. They could cut it. It depends on how they want to do it, like how emotional they want to play it. But they certainly could do just the, you know, like he shows up at the doorway and, you know, and like does the "Can I come in?" And then, you know,
and just close the door and scene.
That cuts.
Yeah.
I don't want them to. I have a feeling that's what they'll do.
Yeah, for time too.
But I do, like, I want to see him actually have to have the conversation, because we saw him show up at the door once before and not be able to do it. Yeah. And so I really hope that we get the full thing. I do too. I don't think we will.
I do too. So it'll be nice to see what they go with him. And then, of course, like I said, I think this will be the last couple scenes. It'll be the last scene, and then, of course, we'll probably get something with John and Sam or something else. But I think we're kind of running out of time, too.
Yeah, I mean, so the last thing that we should probably talk about is Sam, you know, and Torres. Mm-hmm. They link up with him. He leaves the wings with Torres, which, if you're a comic book fan, you will know exactly what that means. And if you're not, go to some other site for their Easter eggs, and they'll tell you.
Go, yeah. I'm going to go to Easter eggs right now.
But, you know, we get the information that Carly and the Flag Smashers are planning something in New York.
Yep.
And Sam opens the case, and clearly he's going to head off to New York to stop whatever the Flag Smashers are planning. And we see their kind of, that Senate meeting get basically taken over. Or it's not really a Senate meeting, it's a GRC.
GRC thing.
You know, kind of meeting that that senator is at. And, the Flag Smashers have infiltrated.
They have.
That.
And I'm excited to see where it's going to go, because like I said, we're going to see the Captain Falcon hybrid suit that he's worn in the comics.
Yep. Where
he still flies, but it's more of like the...
Red, white, and blue.
Yeah, the Patriot colors, I guess you could say. Yep. And then, so I'm excited we're going to see that finally. I'm excited. I really think we're going to have a John Walker versus Sam Captain America fight.
I think we will.
I think that's going to be the major fight. Again, I think Carter's going to die pretty early. I think in the first act, she's going to get shot, killed, dead. Like, something like that. I don't think she's going to last more than the first act.
We'll see.
If she lasts more than that first act, I'm going to be surprised. I really will. Because we still need to close out Bucky. We need to close out Sam. We need to see... I really think we're going to get a scene of course, Zemo breaking out, or somebody, whether it's...
It'll be really interesting to see how they structure this episode. Like, are we going to jump into Sam and Bucky and John are all already in New York? Mm-hmm. Or are we going to see some of their journey of how they get there? You know, Sam calling Bucky, saying, you got to come. You know, John, are we going to see him finding out, you know, what's going on? Or is he just going to, like, are we just going to show up without explanation for how he knows about it?
I'll be okay with that if he doesn't know. Because we can easily write it off as that, what's her name, told it, whispered in his ear.
Yeah. Give him a call.
Yeah, exactly. It's just him grabbing the phone.
Call. Yep.
Exactly. And it could just be a simple, if they just show John saying, and you just hear her voice, hello, or you find you answered or something.
New York, or something like that.
All she needs to say is one word, and I know, okay, cool, he already knows she's in New York. I don't even need to hear her say it. I just need to hear her voice.
Yeah.
We know he's going to go. We know Bucky and Falcon will go, because Falcon's going to go tell Bucky we need to go. I just want to know in the end of it, if we're going to get any more Zemo, if we're going to get a mention of Thunderbolts.
If we get Zemo, it'll be post-credits.
Okay. So you think he'll get a post-credit scene? Probably him breaking out.
If we get Zemo, it'll be post-credits. I don't know that we will, because I think, as you said, we got to wrap up stories. So we got to have our punch-off with everybody. Carly, we think, is going to die.
Yep. Carly's going to die. We got to know what's going on with Sharon.
We got to close out Sharon's story, whatever that is. I think we're going to get Sam and John are going to have their fight where... again, John is not going to die at the end of this.
No,
but I think he's going to end up in the raft also. So I think that might be where we see Zemo, is we see him being brought in, and then maybe it's Contessa showing up at the raft to
recruiting both of them.
And we won't even see that scene. No. We'll just see her showing up at the raft.
It's going to be one of those Hello Boys kind of moment, and then it goes black. Yeah. You know that's how it's going to end with them too.
And then, at the end of the day, I mean, I think we'll have Sam, flying off heroically. And then post-credits wise, I think, it'll be probably a raft scene. whether it has Zemo or the Contessa or whoever. I think that'll be one of them. I think we'll get 2. I think the second one will be either setting up Torres and his next thing, or setting up whoever the power broker is. I think it'll be one of the 2.
I really want to see more of Torres because I think he deserves a lot more. We haven't seen a lot of him yet, and I would love to finally get more. Yeah. More minorities in there. Let's face it. I would love to see him come up. Yeah. I would like to see a power broker, but I'm kind of leaning more. We're just not going to get anything on that. I really am thinking we're not going to get that. I think everything else you said is right. I do want to see a scene of where Zemo's showing him this is how you do a sleight of hand. He's teaching.
We're not going to get that.
Teaching you as agent. We're not, but I would love to see him. Or reading a book, a magic book about how to do it. And then we're going to see Jimmy Woo come in.
Nice.
He's going to be let me show you how
Magic
to do it.
Bros. And then Loki will show up.
There you go. That's it.
And Ant-Man does the card trick too, so yeah.
They all just start showing up randomly.
There's so much magic in this universe.
That's all it's going to be. Loki should be why that? Oh, I hate my life. Just walks out, I'm done.
Pretty much.
But yeah, I want to see something it would be fun to see a fun thing, but yeah, I think everything you said is on point. But I do think Harley's going to die in the first act. Second act is going to be something to do with John, and like I said, I think that's going to be the big fight. And I think the third act is going to be wrapping everything up. If we get a power broker, it is in the third act. I don't think it's going to be a post-credit. I think it's going to be the end of the third act of this. And it's going to be something very small. I don't think we'll get who it is. I think it's going to be more of the phone call. Yeah, pick up a phone. I'm going to call him right now. And it's hello. And you may hear a voice. If it's going to be... If we're going to get any idea if it's somebody that we've already seen, we'll hear a voice.
So
and that's where it's going to stop.
This is going to get real speculative and real weird. Okay?
We know where I stand.
So... At the end of every episode, when the credits are popping up, when it gets to the point where they're revealing the actors that are playing each part, there's about 2 seconds of the background with that character's name, and then it cuts to a different background of that actor's name, and a different background. And so for weeks, there were blank sequences in that. Right? There's a blank page for a couple seconds with no name on it. Right? So those have been filled in as we've gone. Julia Louis-Dreyfus just got hers. There's one left. So that means there is a blank 2-second screen as they're revealing actor names. So we are going to get a brand new actor, whether it's someone we've met before or someone brand new. We are going to get a character in this final episode, I believe, that we have not gotten so far in any of the previous 5 episodes.
I'm going with Vincent D'Onofrio.
And so I think it is going to be the power broker, and I think it's not going to be Vincent D'Onofrio.
I'm going with Kingpin.
But if that's the case, that means they would have to be introduced prior to the credits. So it wouldn't be a post-credits.
It could be the last couple minutes of the episode, though. It could be, again, simple as Kingpin picking up the phone call. Why are you calling me? Why are you bothering me? I'm the Kingpin.
If he was still alive, which he's not, it would be Powers Booth, who was on the World Security Council in that first Avengers movie, and then he was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is not canon anymore. But he would have been a perfect power broker.
He would have.
Not just because his name is literally Powers.
Yeah. What if somehow it's connected to... what's his name? Hammer.
Justin Hammer?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be okay with
I could see Justin Hammer.
I mean, he's supposedly in prison.
Again, it could be a prison scene where somebody picking up a phone and it's him. Be.
And by the way, the Shang-Chi trailer.
Yes, that came out. I'm excited.
But
I was so happy to see that.
This has been us talking about the Falcon and Winter Soldier. Yes. The longest episode of the series. It was just probably our longest review.
Probably.
We talked for a long time, but I think this was a dense episode. There was a ton in here. A lot of really emotional stuff, especially between Sam and Isaiah, and then Sam and Bucky. I thought it was really great. This is my favorite episode so far. I think prior to this, I had loved episode 2. I thought the first 2 episodes were really good. Episode 2 was my favorite up to this point. I thought it kind of dipped in 3. 4 brought it back a little bit. And then this episode is absolutely my favorite. I loved it because of those emotional scenes, because of the Sam and Isaiah scene, and because of the Sam and Bucky scene. I loved this episode, and I can't wait for the finale on Friday.
I can't either. So let us know down below what you think of everything. Was it a very powerful episode for you? I want to know what you think. So make sure you like, comment, subscribe. And also, go check out our other channel now, Beauty and the Geek Paranormal Experience. I'm going to plug that in right here. So go check that channel out.
I'm not on those videos. Below.
He is not. But
I am not the beauty.
No, he is not. He said he would not be the beauty. Even when I tried saying handsome, he said no.
No.
So definitely go check out our other channel. The link in the description. And stay geeky, guys, and get your geek on.
Bye.